Threading your running stitches, as I've done here, is a nice way to add some interest, texture, and contrast color to your work. And that was an example where I had rows of 3 running stitches parallel to each other, where the stitches are stacked on top of each other. And this is just a nice row of simple running stitches with a contrast thread. So let's look at the basics of doing the simple version first. And just to review, running stitch just means that the stitch runs along in a line. So it doesn't refer to the action that you use to make it. This is running stitch. I'm doing it in a stab stitching action. So I'm coming straight up from the back, straight down through the surface, etc. And I'm just running along. And we recommend that method whether you're doing it in a hoop or holding it in your hand, so that you can place the stitches exactly where you want. So if stitching right-handed, you go right to left. Stitching left-handed, you're going to go left to right. And notice when you're using a hoop, it's very convenient to use your offhand, like my right hand is catching the needle on the bottom and passing it back up. So I can get a lot of accuracy that way in my stitching. And it's important to be able to have accuracy if you're going to do something like this, where you're going to stack the stitches on top of each other. But right now, let's work on just one line, threading one line of this running stitch. Now I've come up with the contrast thread off to the side of my stitching, and I'm using a tapestry needle because it has the blunt end that doesn't tend to get caught on things. And I'm just coming up under the stitch, not piercing the fabric. And so I'm just going to go under, first bottom to top, then top to bottom. Now, of course, I could have started either way. And you can see that you can get different effects with this depending on, of course, what kind of thread you used. You could put a thicker thread through here. You can make it really flat like this, but I can, as I'm going along, I can decide that I want it a little bit looser like that. It can be really nice to have a bit of a thicker thread that has some body that can really stand up, and that you can make it take that kind of curly effect. So left-handed, of course, I'm going to go left to right, but I'm still doing the same idea of just coming straight under this. Oops, I've got a lot of threads going, sorry about that. And then every so often, just check to see, do you like the way it looks? You can fool around with it to get it the amount of tension that you like. It's very much easier to control the tension if you have something like this, where you've got 2 or 3 rows of the running stitches stacked up. So here it's the same idea, but instead of starting off to the side in the middle here, which I could have done, I chose to start down at the bottom right corner, because, let's imagine that I'm going to do a design where I want it to be symmetrical for some reason and make some kind of little band. So keep that in mind if you want symmetry, where then I would sink it down here at the end. Just do a little bit of planning if you're going to do that, because here I've got an even number of stitches, but if I had made just 5, then I would have been starting down at this corner and ending here, or having to wrap around the outside. It would end up being just a little bit awkward. So, and I know that because I've done it that way and thought, oh, that didn't end out the way I wanted it to. Now this is what happens if you don't have your running stitches, each one stacked on top of each other. These are offset. So that's for another video, but this is just an option. You can have them stepped and do the threading with that.